to welcome Pam Plagans from the U.S. Commercial Service of the International Trade Administration. Over the next 90 minutes, we're going to hear a lot more from ITA about the services that they offer to manufacturers across the globe, but specifically for U.S. manufacturers. And we'll hear about each of the targeted countries for the NEMA MDCP program, about the advanced manufacturing landscape and their particular economies. So Pam, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I look forward to this presentation.
Thank you so much, Megan. We're super excited to be here and to provide a little bit more background on some of the comments about the International Trade Administration and how we'll be working with NEMA more robustly through this MDCP program. So before I move this slide, I wanted to just kind of give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing for the next hour and a half. I'll kind of lead in and give you an overview of the commercial service to kind of set the stage. Then our colleagues from Indonesia, Turkey, India, and Mexico will tell you much more about those markets that you have identified, that NEMA has identified as targets for this MDCP project. And then we'll open it up to questions and then wrap up with a little bit of what's in the future for some of the things that we do on the commercial service side. So without further ado, we'll be connecting you to global markets for the next hour and a half. I'm Pam Plagans, as Megan said, and I'm the Advanced Manufacturing Team Leader for the U.S. Commercial Service, the Trade and Investment Promotion arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce International Trade Administration. I'm pleased to join you today as we kick off our joint initiative with NEMA with our offices, as I said, in India, Indonesia, Mexico, and Turkey. With 95% of the world's customers outside the United States, exporting can help boost your bottom line while helping you weather changes in the domestic and world economy. So here's kind of an overview slide of our organization and what we bring to the table. The U.S. Commercial Service has a network of over 100 offices across the United States and locations in more than 75 international markets. Our mission is to strengthen the U.S. economy and help create jobs through U.S. exports, and by facilitating inward investment into the United States via the Select USA program. Our export promotion services focus on actionable market intelligence, counseling, B2B engagement, business matchmaking, and more. The vast majority of our exporting clients are small and medium-sized firms, and we also focus on assisting businesses in traditionally underserved communities. In fiscal year 2020, we assisted nearly 40,000 export and investment clients, facilitating $104.5 billion in U.S. exports and inward investment. Let's talk a little bit about the heart of what we do at the Commercial Service. The Commercial Service Office near you coordinates closely with our other federal partners, as well as your local economic development ecosystem. We offer counseling and virtual services through our local trade specialists across the U.S. and through our industry specialists around the world. Having said that, I'm based here in Houston, Texas, and we have 6 offices in the state of Texas. For example, the U.S. Commerce Innovation Lab's Library for American Exporters has recently been updated, and this is mentioned in the slide, the E-Commerce Innovation Lab. This library is designed to increase your international e-commerce sales and includes digital business strategies, expert insights, and resources. Resources that can be used across business and industry as manufacturers increasingly use e-commerce and virtual resources to drive sales. Topics such as website globalization and search engine optimization are covered, along with the standard exporting guidance, such as how to find a foreign partner, negotiating, financing. So I tell people I think this is our new basic guide to exporting, which used to be a mainstay of counseling with U.S. companies. Market intelligence. U.S. companies can tap up-to-the-minute market intelligence developed by our industry specialists based in the U.S. embassies and consulates, including India, Indonesia, Mexico, and Turkey, of which you'll learn more about in this program. We stay up to date with the rapidly evolving business landscape at home and abroad through work with industry partners and trade groups, and by supporting trade events globally. For our rural exporters, the Rural America's Intelligence Service for Exporters, RAISE, helps rural businesses identify new markets, find industry-specific market intelligence, or identify potential business partners in country. And I can't say enough about the market intelligence we get from our colleagues out of Washington that help to drive our perspective and put us in the right direction. Business matchmaking. B2B introductions between U.S. suppliers and potential foreign buyers are at the heart of our services. Today, our services still straddle the in-person and virtual world, where we often offer hybrid programs. For example, our Key program, though, historically has been our Gold Key matching service. And I don't know about you, but I always like to know, can you give me a kind of sense of the price? So I will tell you that the Gold Key service, we have 3 tiers of pricing. It's $950 for small businesses, $2,300 for medium, and $3,400 for large. Just kind of for a perspective on the investment you'll make. The Gold Key service provides matchmaking appointments with prospective buyers and partners. These and other services are also available at some of the numerous events we attend around the world. Those near and dear to my portfolio are Hanover Messe in Germany, which will be taking place at the end of May and early June this year, and IMTS in Chicago, which we'll all look forward to in September, or through our signature Discover Global Markets and Trade Winning series. It's a good tee up to this slide. A little bit more about the trade events. Trade Winds is coming up in March. It is one of our signature conferences. It is the largest biennial U.S. government-led trade mission and business development forum. It is taking place March 6th through the 8th, and its theme this year is the Middle East and North Africa, and launching in Dubai, UAE. It's organized by the U.S. Commercial Service, as I said, and Trade Winds will feature meetings with U.S. commercial diplomats from over 20 countries in the Middle East, North Africa, and Sub-Saharan Africa. With plenty of networking, qualified U.S. businesses can customize their experience with optional business-to-business matchmaking meetings with partners from across the region. Also this year, the program will take place alongside a Women Business Owners program to enhance these business opportunities in the region. And our next Discover Global Markets program, which is our domestically based conference, will feature resources for the blue economy and takes place in mid-September. We're happy to answer any questions about these programs as they come up. I will say the Trade Winds program right now, I think is fully subscribed, but the Discover Global Markets program is something we have just launched, so look for more information in the future. Now on to commercial diplomacy. This is where we work very strongly with our colleagues in the embassies around the world. Our commercial diplomacy and advocacy helps remove market access barriers and coordinates U.S. government-wide advocacy efforts for U.S. companies competing for foreign government contracts. The advocacy program seeks to level the playing field to increase the competitiveness of U.S. business in these larger tenders. Our offices day-to-day assist in troubleshooting in foreign transactions as well. Export promotion programs in countries around the world have significant funding and staffing to provide assistance and services to their local businesses. So not just our companies are in a very competitive landscape, but the landscape for assisting companies is very competitive as well. Less than 5% of U.S. SMEs export, and of those that do, 58% sell to just one market. Moreover, a business is never too small to export. In fact, 97% of all U.S. exporters are small and medium-sized businesses with fewer than 500 employees. And this slide, the actual picture delineates the exports of goods and services as a percentage of GDP in these countries. And I always think it's a good idea to kind of give you some perspective. You're not alone. The U.S. Commercial Service can connect you to partner agencies and organizations that can help you find the right resources for getting paid, regulations, statistics, introductions, or trade events. Or we're here when you just need an impartial sounding board. As a trade specialist, I know I often would pick up the phone and have an exporter call in and just ask. They know the answer to the question. They just wanted to double check or get a perspective on it from someone who is outside of their particular ecosystem. So a little bit more about the snapshot here of the U.S. trade ecosystem. We're a member of the U.S. government's Trade Promotion and Coordinating Committee. and to increase their collaboration on programs so that we can look at your assistance from more than one perspective. Outside of the U.S. government, we're happy to call NEMA a long-term partner of ITA, with the MDCP grant formalizing this relationship as we move forward on joint projects. As you look at the slide, you're going to see some familiar names there. And what we try to encourage folks to do is if you have any questions about this trade ecosystem, start with your U.S. Commercial Service Office in your local market, or contact any of the speakers you have here today. We can then put you in touch with the right person to start your journey. Companies that export grow faster and are less likely to go out of business. Our mission is to grow U.S. exports and increase jobs. We do this through our worldwide recognition, a global network, and results-driven focus. Most importantly, working with ITA and the commercial service allows our network to work for you. So this is a bit more about me. I am the advanced manufacturing team leader, as I noted earlier. We help our companies compete and win abroad. My role as the lead in the advanced manufacturing team is to meet the needs of innovative manufacturers in the sectors of additive manufacturing, industrial materials, automation and robotics, and industrial machinery. Our team, the advanced manufacturing team, is one of 22 global teams that provide customized resources for industry verticals such as energy, automotive and smart mobility, or aerospace. And as I said, I'm based here in Houston, Texas, but I can connect you with my colleagues elsewhere around the world. I'd now like to introduce my colleagues who together, we help companies compete and win abroad. NEMA, as I noted, and has been noted regularly today, has identified 4 key markets that we'll be targeting in our collaboration. And I'd like to introduce our exporting experts that will take it from here. We're going to start with Jansen Tandy in CS Jakarta, Indonesia, going to our colleague in Turkey, Prem Agunar, then Malar Paramel in Chennai, India, and Mario Vidania in Mexico. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our colleague in Jansen before we. Jansen Tandy is currently the commercial specialist based in the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta.
Well, thank you, Pam. And just as a reminder, we're going to play a recording from Jansen because he wasn't able to join us today. So as soon as you're ready, just let me know and I will upload Jansen's presentation.
Terrific. I'm all ready. While you're doing that, I can read the introduction to his bio.
Thanks. And if you wouldn't mind, stop sharing and I will upload on my end.
Great. And stop sharing. Let's see. The share content, I want to unshare it. I must be at the wrong place. For some reason, it is not allowing me to unshare.
Let me see if I can take over regardless.
Dusan, I think you can just take over sharing your screen.
I think it's going to work. No worries, Pam.
As we all know exactly how this feels when you're in the middle of a presentation and something doesn't work.
So it will begin as soon as it uploads, it should begin. Let me know if I need to increase the volume. Great. Well, Pam, as I pull up our next presentation, would you like to introduce our next speaker?
I would love to. Our next speaker is our colleague from Turkey, Kerem Dagnaz. She's been working at the U.S. Commercial Service in Istanbul for 15 years. Her focus is on the advanced manufacturing and advanced materials industries. Kerem also served as the U.S. Commercial Service Partner Post Liaison for Turkmenistan. Kerem previously worked at the regional sourcing as the regional sourcing director for the global textiles brand and VP of Green Active PR, counseling multinational companies in their corporate marketing communication strategies. Kerem, welcome aboard.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your interest in the Turkish market opportunities for advanced manufacturing solutions. Turkey is a country strategically located at the crossroads between East and West, overlapping Europe and Asia. With a sizable population of 83 million, Turkey has a GDP of $720 billion and is the 19th largest economy in the world. The country is an important manufacturing and distribution hub in the region. The manufacturing industry's share of GDP is around 19%. Turkey positions itself in the global value chain by leveraging its logistical advantage, offering lower labor costs and flexible production capabilities. To give you an idea of the strength and variety of manufacturing industries, Turkey is the largest TV and home appliances manufacturer in Europe, the second largest plastic producer in Europe and seventh in the world, the sixth largest textile and apparel supplier in the world, the largest cement producer in Europe and fourth in the world, the largest steel producer in Europe and seventh in the world, and the second largest flat glass manufacturer in the world. In automotive, Turkey is the fifth largest manufacturer in Europe. 30 of the top 50 global automotive suppliers have production facilities in Turkey, and there are about 450 tier 1 suppliers. Next slide, please. The previous slide. Thank you. Advanced manufacturing technologies are increasingly implemented across Turkey, with international companies leading the way. Early adopters are automotive and aerospace industries, both dominated by major international companies with a large number of local suppliers, expected to use the latest standards and technologies. In addition, defense, home appliances, chemicals, food processing, machinery, steel, textiles, energy, and mining industries are focused on implementing advanced manufacturing. 1 in every 3 large manufacturers in Turkey already uses robotic process automation, Internet of Things, or AI solutions. Next slide, please. The industrial automation market size is $1.6 billion, growing 10% annually. Collaborative robots and modular automation systems are the latest industrial automation trends in Turkey as of 2021. I should add that many companies in Turkey also serve area countries, Russia, Caucasus, Central Asia, Middle East, and North Africa, so the industrial automation business served from Turkey as a hub is around $2.5 billion, including the regional markets. In robotics, there are 15,000 industrial robots in Turkey, with about half of them in the automotive industry. Turkish automotive industry is among the top 10 global markets for robots, with over 210 robots per 10,000 workers. In big data and analytics, some of the solutions used in Turkey are supply chain and warehouse management processes, including real-time tracking of demand, order fulfillment, manufacturing flow and returns, and predictive maintenance, real-time monitoring of industrial manufacturing devices, allowing companies to predict when maintenance is required. Industry analysts estimate that the Turkish market will grow to $10 billion by 2024 to include investments in sensors, optronics, M2M software and hardware, artificial intelligence, modeling and simulations, cloud services, and cybersecurity applications. In additive manufacturing, over 500 mostly polymer-based 3D printers are used at factories. Automotive, household appliances, machinery, jewelry, and medical dental industries began using 3D printers in Turkey in 2014. Turkey is within the top 15 markets worldwide, with a market size of $300 million. SMEs seek 3D printing primarily for the molding sampling process and typically outsource this service. There's a growing demand for advanced 3D printers and CAD/CAM programs, advanced printing materials, and large-scale additive production capabilities. In AR and VR-based systems, although the use is still in its infancy in manufacturing, there's great interest in Turkey. Larger companies have started to use augmented reality to select parts in their respective warehouses, transmit repair instructions over mobile devices, design and simulate products and production processes, and train workers. In advanced materials and composites, Turkey's market size is $2.1 billion. Imports are around $450 million. This is a high-growth market. In 2021, the advanced materials industry grew by 12%. Currently, composite materials are used predominantly in construction for the pipewater infrastructure, in transportation for automotive, marine, and aerospace industries, in renewable energy for wind power and solar panels, and in electric goods for heat boilers. Next slide, please. Looking at the incentives, over the next 5 years, Turkey is expected to invest $1.5 billion annually to integrate Industry 4.0 solutions into the manufacturing process. To accelerate the investments, in 2019, the Ministry of Industry and Technology announced Turkey's 2023 Industry and Technology Strategy, detailing incentives for R&D and digital transformation of industrial enterprises. Companies developing or using new technologies in specific focus areas can benefit from various incentives, including customs duty exemptions for their imports, VAT exemptions, low-interest credits and grants, and corporate tax deductions. The specific technologies supported by the Turkish government are artificial intelligence, 5G, big data and data analytics, IoT, blockchain, robotics and autonomous systems, UAVs, nanotech, cybersecurity, additive manufacturing, quantum computing, semiconductors, and energy technologies. In addition, the government of Turkey is establishing digital transformation centers piloting smart manufacturing technologies within the organized industrial zones and technoparks. To give an example, one such center, MEXT, was opened in 2020 in Istanbul and is the world's largest digital transformation and competence development center for metal-related industries. Over 30 new technologies are fully showcased at MEXT, many by US companies. Plug and Play Tech Center has partnered with MEXT, establishing Plug and Play Istanbul to connect innovative startups, including US-based startups, with the leading corporations of Turkey in smart manufacturing, IoT, mobility, and energy industries. Microsoft has its only Microsoft Manufacturing Core Center in the world at MEXT, dedicated to showcasing digital transformation in manufacturing. As Turkey is in accession talks with the European Union, it has access to EU funds related to Industry 4.0. These funds provide between $500,000 to $2.5 million in support for private sector projects across various advanced manufacturing areas. Next slide, please. On the standards front, since 2005, Turkey is in accession talks to become a European Union member. Turkey also has a customs union with the EU since 1995, which allows the free trade of goods without customs restrictions. This not only means that there are no borders for the flow of goods between the EU and Turkey, but also that Turkey follows the EU standards and regulations. Therefore, certain certification standards may differ from those in the US. For example, conformity assessment or CE marking is required for all machinery and equipment. All European industrial directives are also applicable in Turkey. This means any US company which exports to Europe can also meet the Turkish standards and regulations and export to Turkey. The Turkish Standards Institute, TSE, is a public agency and is the sole authorized body for standardization in Turkey. TSE publishes and adopts standards in compliance with standards applicable in global markets. TSE is an active member of the World Standardization Community, with full membership in the ISO, the International Electrotechnical Commission (IEC), the European Committee for Standardization (CEN), and the European Committee for Electrotechnical Standardization. TSC is also a point of contact for Turkish companies researching the conversions between NEMA and IEC standards, especially for the efficiency standards of electrical motors. Since 2003, Turkish Standards Institute is an MOU partner with ASTM International and has used more than 800 ASTM standards as normative references and as the basis for Turkish national standards. In addition, Turkish ASTM International members serve on ASTM committees from steel and textiles to concrete and plastics, nuclear technology, and medical products. Next slide, please. I would like to conclude my presentation by underlining that according to the U.S. Department of Commerce data, Turkey ranks 16th among worldwide markets for U.S. manufacturing technologies. And I would be pleased to assist NEMA members enter and expand in the Turkish market.
Thank you very, very much, Parim. Pam, I see that your image might be frozen, but I'm hoping that you can still hear us. And if you'd like to introduce our next speaker, I will pull up that presentation, which is also going to be actually a recording.
All right, I'm all ready, and Malar Paramel is our commercial advisor at the U.S. Commercial Service Office in Chennai, India. And she joined the commercial service in 2008 as part of the team in India, and her role involves promotion of U.S. exports to India and investment in the United States. Malar leads the manufacturing, which is equipment and machinery team for India. Her current portfolio also includes healthcare, environmental technologies, and print, media, and entertainment. Prior to joining the commercial service, she worked with a multinational bank. Malar has a master's degree in economics and a diploma in business administration. You can see she's got a broad portfolio, and I look forward to hearing her remarks.
Great, Pam, I'm going to pull up the next presentation for Mario as you introduce him.
Awesome. Mario is, he's actually the first deputy for my team when I became team leader. So very excited to introduce him. He's an industry specialist with our commercial service office in Monterrey, Mexico. He's an electromechanical engineer graduating from Nuevo Leon State University. Before joining Commerce, Mario worked for 20 years for leading OEMs in the electronics industry. He was involved in manufacturing processes, including automated tests, surface mount technology, supplier development, and quality systems. So I know that all the technology discussions today, Mario actually understood, whereas I just smiled. So Mario, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pam, and also thank you, NEMA, for including me in this program. Good afternoon, everybody. I am one of the 40 commercial specialists in Mexico, each one of us handling different sectors. And my sectors include mining and minerals, steel and aluminum, plastics and resins, and advanced manufacturing, of course. And with that, I am involved in promoting U.S. machinery, equipment, tools, and services into these industries in Mexico. I have 11 years in service at the commercial service, and I am amazed by the amount of U.S. exporters who still don't export to Mexico. In contrast, there are nearly 12 million tourists visiting Mexico, most famed beaches, resorts, and magical towns. But let me highlight that Mexico is more than just a travel destination. It's a country full of opportunities. Next slide, please. Trade-wise, Mexico has a large significance to the United States. First, because it's the 15th largest economy and the preferred land for a vast number of foreign manufacturers. Second, because Mexico is today the U.S. largest trade partner, with U.S. exports surpassing the $250 billion according to the census. Mexico has a large and diversified population. 60% of that make up the labor workforce available for international companies to work in their plants. And together, workers and companies generate about 1.3 trillion in products and services. And despite its current challenges as a developing country, Mexico has seen unprecedented amount of foreign investment. This has opened doors to more and more regional suppliers and paved the way for more in-country manufacturers. From the total FDI arriving in the country, almost 40% lands in manufacturing. The inflow of FDI has helped strengthen Mexico's economy in a few ways. But most importantly, it has helped reduce the number of Mexican immigrants to the United States as more jobs are generated by the arriving companies. And these companies take the workers to a higher skill level as they learn new and sophisticated manufacturing processes. They also bring better cultural habits and increase the workers' technical savviness. The best salaries are paid by FDI companies, and considering the low inflation rates that exist in the country, Mexico is a good place to live in with some extravagance. Next slide, please. And why not export to Mexico when Mexican buyers have a keen preference for U.S. products? First, because the U.S. is a driving distance from our major border cities. Second, because traditionally U.S. products have better quality, durability, and reliability. This last feature is key in most purchasing decisions. In 2020, the Census Bureau reported Mexico as the second trading partner with exports over $200 billion. A considerable amount if we compare U.S. exports to China and Japan, as you see in this chart. These other two important markets for the U.S. exporter. But the number The numbers for 2020 are not yet published, but year to date, Mexico is leading the race. Next slide, please. Okay, and much of U.S. experts find their destination in Mexico's manufacturing. There are 8 priority sectors that I have identified based on the annual production of every sector. The automotive industry, that includes car, heavy truck, and auto parts manufacturing, is by far the main destination of goods produced in the United States soil. In second term, but not less important, the appliance and the electronic industry with a strong presence of Asian, European, and US manufacturers. Thirdly, I don't know how attractive the food and beverage industry may be for today's audience. However, this sector competes with the novel and growing medical device manufacturing sector. I'd love to say that the current interest of these companies to implement Industry 4.0 technologies is driven by a national initiative, but it's not. However, industry by itself has evolved under the challenges of the global supply chain and global clients. The ability to manufacture, to order, assuring quality without human depend, the sharing of information in a corporate network, and connecting an entire supply chain have forced them to move into more modern approaches involving products and systems for connected factories, smart factories, or in a nutshell, advanced manufacturing technologies. Manufacturers are in constant search for new and advanced technologies. However, engaging with these industries on your own may be difficult and time-consuming, but there are some simple strategies that I can share with you as we go on in this presentation. Next slide, please. What are the trends in Mexico's industry for advanced manufacturing, and what are the resources that are available in country to support companies reach their 4.0 objectives? Well, the demand for new technologies is high. So high that some organizations in Mexico have sought an opportunity in supporting these manufacturers reach the Industry 4.0 level. The industry chambers, even though they are traditionally known for their lobbying nature, they have managed to involve their affiliates in a few different committees which serve as data gathering instruments to gauge the manufacturers' needs and detect trends. The clusters. These are organisms created to articulate production improvement, agile supply chains, and to establish value relations in a kind of three-helix format with academia, government, and manufacturers. The clusters, along with the research and development centers, are great promoters and developers of manufacturing standards. For the same reason, clusters are deeply involved in supporting their affiliates' 4.0 goals and objectives. The R&D centers play a crucial role in supporting the companies finding solutions to more complex problems. If your company is looking for a highly technological partner, R&D centers represent your best prospects. Suppliers are also involved in 4.0 by induction, I would say. They are receptive to the trends and go out looking for new products to offer to their clients. At the same time, they evolve along with their clients, adapting their business to automate order processing, engineering data interchange, rapid prototyping systems, just to mention some examples. And the trends. Well, in a recent virtual walkthrough into an advanced manufacturing process, I visited Aptiv, formerly Denso. This event was organized by the Manufacturing Leadership Council, part of the National Association of Manufacturers with base in DC. And Aptiv is just one example of big companies who have an embedded connected environment. Without giving much detail, Aptiv showed us the variety of individual systems that can be used to bring both machines and humans into a visual, or should I say virtual, world where decision makers can make smarter and timely decisions. This list on your left describes what Aptiv implemented already. The first examples in this list have been present in the plant since 1980, really. Although rapid prototyping was boosted by the development of 3D printing technologies. Later, around the year 2000, automated robotic systems, automated machine systems started to appear in some of the most advanced companies. Condition monitoring, virtual manufacturing, and virtual environments and wearables are just entering the industry just a few years ago. And these may represent an opportunity if you are in that business. Next slide, please. Now, speaking of standards, Mexico follows much of the US standards, or the world standards, I would say. Considering that all the industries mentioned above will be related to at least one of the best known standard developers in the United States or Canada. Mexico has a centralized entity called NIS, the National Organism for Standardization and Normalization. NIS has developed or enforced the use of the standards in the electronics, telecommunications, information technologies, chemical and plastic industries predominantly. NIS collaborates with the federal government of Mexico to implement official Mexican norms, NOMs, and Mexican norms, NMX, and other international known standards like ISO and IEC. NOMs and NMXs have a special importance when it comes to importing goods into Mexico. Products failing to meet a Mexican standard may not make it through customs or make it stuck halfway. It is important that exporters confirm with their custom brokers or their clients in Mexico whether their goods were required to meet any of these Mexican standards. We have an expert in standards in Mexico City. Her name is Silvia Montaño. And here you can see the contact information so you need to consult her. Next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned earlier that OEMs have their own sourcing and supplier development processes. Most of them are very careful to not allow a leak of their processes or technologies into their out of their plants. Therefore, if you are successful getting an appointment, very likely your meeting will no go further than the reception meeting room. At the U.S. Commercial Service, we have a network of specialists who are experts in their assigned sectors. They have gained valuable market intelligence that can help companies in the U.S. reduce their prospection time. The commercial specialists at CS Mexico help businesses across the country explore all of these markets. They help you also learn about emerging opportunities and tap into federal programs that can help companies get deals done. From our experience, there are different strategies to enter the Mexican market depending upon the type of product or service your company provides. Whether you sell materials, machinery, equipment, or provide a service, and assuming you don't have a presence in Mexico, your best option to expand your sales in this market is through some sort of partnership. Reaching out your target clients is best approached through the services provided by the U.S. Commercial Service offices in Mexico. We have, as I said earlier, a network of over 40 specialists in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey, which are the more industrialized cities in Mexico. Another approach to expanding your experts in Mexico is through trade shows. And of course, you know that. We have seen thousands of Mexican visitors and from other Latin American countries, increasing the opportunities to get leads and generate sales at the trade shows. Next slide, please. And there are some good shows in Mexico devoted to manufacturing. Actually, we are 1 week from one of the largest and most important manufacturing show, Expo Manufactura. It is taking place on February 15 to 17 in Monterrey, Mexico, and will be dedicated this year for advanced manufacturing. CS Mexico has organized a pavilion with over 40 US exhibitors already. And for the plastics industry, Plastimagen 2022 is scheduled for this March 8 through 11 at the premises of City Banamex in Mexico City. I'll be glad to provide more information on request. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. So before I end my presentation, I'd like to answer a question that is surely already in your minds. Is it safe to travel to attend trade shows in the current COVID situation? For your information, visitors are more conscious of the habit that help them preserve their health and those around them. In addition, trade shows have implemented strict biosecurity measures to protect both exhibitors and visitors. In 2021, only a few trade events took place as scheduled, while others were postponed or canceled. In 2022, we see a calendar full of events. Enough for Mexico. I'll stop here and I will be available to answer any questions during the Q&A. Back to you, Pam. Thank you very much.
Mario, thank you very much. Pam, if you don't mind me jumping in, I know there was one question that that we can maybe start off with, and perhaps you can help address it. Do U.S. security concerns restrict the export of U.S. manufacturing technologies? Then the other part of that question is, how do these restrictions jive with U.S. playing international market standards?
And
Pam,
I
were
think
you?
that for the question, I think is good to you directing it towards me, Dushan, or to Mario and
Well, I was directing it toward you, Pam, in the sense that if you wanted to touch on, it sounds like the question is asking more sort of about export licensing and how that might sort of affect exports. Do U.S. security concerns restrict the exports of U.S. manufacturing technologies? So it's almost kind of maybe related to dual use items and that kind of stuff.
No, and I'll start it kind of big picture, and then if you want to kind of get more in the weeds on it a little bit. But you know, I would say as advanced manufacturing team leader in the last few years, national security has really come really into the conversation, which hadn't in the past. I've got a manufacturing background, and I just, you know, so it's been interesting to see it added, and also then to see the requisite regulations and changing of how some of these very advanced or disruptive technologies, how they're marketed or commercialized. Dushan, I might want to ask you, like, how do you share that information with your clients?
Yeah, no, thanks, Pam. You know, when we get these questions a lot from companies when, you know, when they're looking to export overseas, especially in the manufacturing sector, and like you said, and I would say that there is a, you know, maybe a very small percentage of items, of products out there that fall into this group where there may be potential for what they call dual use. So if a company might have a product, or it could be a part of a product, or that, for example, somebody out there overseas could take this and, you know, change it, enhance it in any way, and kind of use it for something other than its intended purpose. And in those instances, you know, it's the U.S. government that would like to know sort of where this is going, which country, who's the buyer, who's the end user. Not to say that it's going to be restricted for exports, but simply kind of plain and safe, they would like to know where it's going. So there's a whole unit, in fact, that's also housed within the Department of Commerce called the Bureau of Industry and Security. It's kind of the main U.S. government agency that oversees export administration regulations, where companies can apply for an export license. And, you know, and essentially most of the time they do get one. And we actually, our organization helps quite a bit in the process. So, you know, if a company reaches out to somebody like myself or another trade specialist throughout the country, we're happy to sit down and guide them through the process just because it can be a little bit convoluted if they haven't done it before, but all this information is actually on there online and on BIS websites and so forth. And you know, with the instructions on how, it's just a matter of guiding them, you know, how to look at the Commerce Control List, how to look at the reasons for control, because it could be things like anti-terrorism or nuclear non-proliferation and things like that. And then it's usually a matter of a number of weeks before, you know, Bureau of Industry and Security gets back to them, issues a license and so forth. And then there's a very small group of items that kind of fall into the military use, and then it's a different agency that handles that within the State Department. It's you know, it's the ITAR stuff and so forth. But that's like I said, a very small, and we're always here to help. Like you said in one of your slides, you know, when companies reach out to their local U.S. Export Assistance Center, we're happy to guide them through this. And so there's a lot of resources that we offer to help in that regard.
Yes, and that really does reinforce that, you know, start with your local office in the United States, because they really can connect you with the right folks. So you don't have to spin your wheels, you know, thinking, oh, you know, I think I need to talk to State Department when you really need to talk to BIS. So again, it kind of just reinforces that start with the folks in your local office, and then we can connect you with where you need to be. Kind of streamlines your process. You know, I'd like to encourage folks to ask any questions in the chat. I have a couple of questions I thought I would, you know, warm our audience up with, but we really would like to know, you know, what is on your minds? What insights can we share with you today? This is a phenomenal opportunity to get our colleagues who are every single day talking to U.S. manufacturers and U.S. businesses about how to maximize their sales efforts and everything that's part of that, how to be successful in these markets. So let me pose a question to Mario. We've witnessed a historical disruption of the supply chain in the last 2 to 3 years, Mario. As the combined effect of different factors, how is Mexico preparing to mend or avoid disruption in the future?
Oh, thank you, Pam. Yes, well, Mexico has bet to foreign trade as a mechanism to boost economic growth and the well-being of its population, of course. It's in Mexico's interest to build and preserve an agile supply chain, and mainly among its largest trade partners like the United States and Canada. COVID came to disrupt the flow of products and services, and its effects will remain for at least the next 3 years, I would say. To overcome this special disruption, Mexico must also focus in balancing its weaknesses and strengths, like energy infrastructure, transportation, public security, and the development of human capital. In order to increase its competitiveness. So just to give you a hint, 59% of the exporting activity is concentrated in the states bordering with the United States, while the southernmost states contributed with only 6%. So it's a very, very high imbalance of the resources that exist in the country. So I guess that is one of the major challenges that Mexico is facing in this disrupted supply chain.
Well, Mexico must be doing something right if you're going to be surpassing Canada for U.S. exports. So we'll see where the numbers land this year. I have a question
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be looking forward to how Expo Manufactura goes next week, Mario. So, Karim,
oh yeah, definitely next week.
For Turkey. Have you seen American firms being successful in your market in Turkey, considering that Turkey has its own local suppliers and that firms from European countries like Germany and Italy are very active in the country?
Yes, we have worked successfully with large American firms such as Rockwell Automation and HP 3D Printing, who already have a foothold in Turkey and have worked with us to reach out to more potential users through various services offered by the U.S. Commercial Service. Of course, they have high quality products competitive with other countries, but they can use the extra help to gain more exposure. And for smaller companies, we have also found interest from local distributors. But again, commercial service support is helpful to present them to Turkish buyers and distributors and highlight their capabilities, given the strong competition from European countries for more advanced products, higher priced products, and from Far Eastern players for lower cost products. And I should add that American products, I mean, America enjoys a very high reputation as innovative, at the forefront of technologies, new technologies, and very high quality. Therefore, also more higher priced, I guess. And so, yes, US products are quite popular, and we can help companies reach buyers in Turkey. And maybe I should also add, in addition to Turkey, at US Commercial Service Turkey, we also coordinate with partner posts in Eurasia. So where there are no US commercial service offices, but US embassies in countries such as Georgia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, we can assist you in these 4 countries as well to reach out to businesses there and increase or enter into these markets and increase your business.
Thank you. I know I was going to ask you about that. I didn't realize you were handling the partner posts. So just kind of to elaborate for those unfamiliar with that, we have offices in 75 countries around the world. But some countries that do not have a full-time person in that office will partner with the U.S. State Department, but we'll partner closely with one of our local offices, such as in Turkey. And Parim, are there other markets that your office is partner post with?
Yes, we have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So all the, I mean, Central Asian republics and the Caucasian republics, they are covered from Turkey.
Oh, wow, well, that's good to know. Now I won't have to look at a list. You know, one other thing I wanted to ask you, Parim, before we open up the questions again, is are there any trade shows related to smart manufacturing in Turkey?
There is a really large trade show with Eurasia. It's organized by Hanover Messe Turkey, and it covers advanced manufacturing or smart manufacturing technologies. The focus is on automation and digitalization of manufacturing, so it might be relevant to companies here as well. And this year it will be a hybrid fair in June 2022.
Hybrid in June. I think June is going to be a busy time. Everybody should get their bags ready.
I agree.
Maybe not us, but others. So we've warmed up the group for any other questions. So please add them in the chat. I'm going to give everybody just a moment, and then if not, we will move to wrapping things up. Timothy, terrific. I'm going to read it. I know you all can read it. One of the major challenges for U.S. manufacturers in increasing exports or even maintaining exports is the increasing number of regulatory burdens, including compliance, in-country testing, and certification requirements. How can the U.S. government, in-country personnel, assist in the tracking and influencing of new regulations or standards that negatively impact the imports of products into the countries? And I know Mario and Parim both have a perspective on that question. Let's see, Mario, why don't you start? And that kind of fits into that advocacy bucket of the services that we provide. It's advocating on behalf of U.S. business.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Pam. Yeah, that's an interesting question because in Mexico, and I don't know about other countries, but in Mexico, the regulations are in constant evolution, I would say. The import and export processes in Mexico change every year. New rules, new regulations, new procedures, and the U.S. exporter has to be aware of every changes, but not responsible for every changes to meet the requirements and regulations. It is the Mexican importer who has to be very savvy, who has to be prepared to do or implement all these changes in whatever they export from the United States. So the only reason why it is important to have a connection between the Mexican importer and the U.S. exporters is because there are some information and paperwork that has to be included in the import documentation. But if we want to be on top of this, it's going to be very difficult. And that's the reason why we have an expert in import and export affairs here in Mexico, in CS Mexico. So his name is Manny, and we have a website. It's called Ask Manny that you can reach out in our trade.gov website in case our U.S. exporters have difficulties with their exports to Mexico.
I love that. Trade Ask Manny. I'll have to go check it out myself.
Yeah, it is very valuable because I know Manny is very outgoing, and he has a lot of contacts in the customs, and we have been successful, or he has been successful in getting things out of the other custom because they got stuck for lack of documentation, of lack of labeling, or they were not meeting the standards that are required, like the NOMS and NMXs that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, you can use him as a resource.
Thank you. Thank you. So go to trade.gov and ask Manny. Karim, I know you've probably got perspective on this as well.
Yes, in Turkey, in the past 2 years especially, we have experienced a lot of difficulties with companies and export procedures into Turkey. Because of the currency crisis, foreign currency crisis in Turkey, the government is trying to limit the number of imports and kind of creating trade barriers. So we do assist U.S. companies with what we called commercial diplomacy, and we can reach out to Turkish government agencies on behalf of U.S. companies, develop a strategy together with them, and explain the difficulties the U.S. companies are experiencing. And we can also sometimes affect the regulations and influence and change them. The commercial attaches, the American diplomats, they meet with their counterparts in Turkey, the ministries, periodically, and they bring up these difficulties. And if necessary, we can even elevate them further up to the ambassador and even the ministers. So we do take this seriously. We want to level the playing field and make sure that U.S. companies are not unnecessarily burdened with requirements that are very difficult.
That's great. Pam, I would also chime in real quick, in addition to what both Mario and Prim mentioned, that in some of the countries around the world, we do have actually standard specialists, folks that actually go to a certain market. Not all markets, of course, but in certain places where they specifically focus on the changes and the new policies that, the local host governments are implementing, which in turn will, have adverse or other impacts for U.S. manufacturers and companies trying to get their products into those markets. I've done quite a bit of work, for example, with our colleagues in Brussels, in the European Union, and next to our sort of the business development office that helps companies enter the market and does business development services for them, such as our matchmaking service and so forth. We have a separate office that exclusively focuses on sort of EU policy issues and standards issues that come up, that then in turn have sort of an impact on our companies trying to enter that market. So we do a lot of sort of educational events with them. We have the Global European team, as you know, Global Europe team that does a lot of webinars and puts out a lot of educational sessions specifically focused on these kinds of, EU compliance issues, EU directives that come out and so forth that have that kind of impact. And lastly, I'll also mention our industry and analysis unit, at headquarters that also has a whole sort of basically Office of Standards and Intellectual Property, where a lot of this work on standards and conformity assessment related policy issues are sort of handled and looked at, and the various potential barriers to market access in global markets. So then those folks are the ones that kind of look at the industry-wide impacts of, of sort of capacity building efforts to promote that regulatory cooperation in our government to government work when our principals meet with foreign counterparts and so forth. So we encourage any company that runs into issues to share them with us, because when we in turn share that with our colleagues at Industry and Analysis at headquarters, that trickles up, so that we can address it from a U.S. policy standpoint. So.
And Dushan, that's such an important thing to impress upon folks is if you're facing these things, you're not alone. Please contact us. Please send me an email and I can connect you with our local office, or any of the folks on here can put you in to the right place to start. But there's a lot of resources. I think just basically, I'd say the bottom line from our presentation today is there's a lot of resources out there to help you help yourself. And Dushan, I think if you want to flip to the next slide. Yep. Thank you so much for adding that. I actually talked to a couple of standards attaches in Latin America recently, so looking to get to know more of our colleagues around the world. Well, what I thought I'd do at to wrap up our presentation today is just to kind of look forward. And we just sent out the February edition of our team's exporting newsletter, which is really devoted to advanced manufacturing. But really, I think for the audience here, we have teams, as I said, 22 teams around our organization that focus on various sectors. So another thing that your local trade specialist can make sure that you're meeting up with the right folks. But some things that we have coming up on our agenda, I was really pleased to see Mario putting in the logos as well for Expo Manufactura next week in Mexico, and then Plastimachen in March, plastic show. So perhaps watch for some more information on that if you're in the plastics sector or space. JEC World is taking place in Paris. These three shows are all official events. We go down to the minority business focused trade mission to Southwestern Europe. That's recruiting right now. So if you're have an interest in that, again, it's so refreshing to see us possibly having these in-person events. I think we all know it kind of ebbs and flows. And just to make sure, I think this is a good way to wrap things up, is to talk about, although it's not been confirmed yet, we have put forth and organized a really robust trade mission, advanced manufacturing mission to Indonesia, Singapore, with an optional stop in Japan. The focus of this trade mission is traveling to Indonesia, which is one of the, as we've said, key countries for this MBCP. But then also we thought it was timing wise, would be very fortuitous for a regional perspective to also be to go to Singapore, not too far away, for the ITAP show. It's a trade show, and depending on the interests of the participants in the mission, if we're looking at 10 to 12 participants, perhaps exhibiting at that trade show. We also, then our colleagues in Japan were very interested in adding something to this mission. They were actually thinking about their own mission, and we put it together with this as an optional stop that last day of Gold Key services, which are customized meetings for the participants who are interested in going. So the heart of the mission is really going to be in Indonesia and Singapore with this additional stop in Japan. The focus is Industry 4.0, advanced manufacturing, smart manufacturing. stay tuned. I am sure if you're a member of NEMA, and you're reading your emails, you'll see much more information on it once we know what the future holds. So without further ado, I think that's our program for today. Here's the contact details for the team that gave you the market intelligence. Dushan's not on there, but we know how to find him too. And I know Amanda spoke earlier in the day. She's one of she's leading on this project. Again, this information is available, but truly just contact one of us and we'll put you in the right place. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Pam. And I'd like to thank your whole team for that great information about ITA offerings and then about the particular advanced manufacturing landscape in each of the 4 countries we're targeting. I think that was a really great introduction for NEMA and its members. And I know that we're looking forward to working with you all in the coming months and years, I think as much as you're looking forward to working with us.
We really are. This is kind of ignited and put together, having us focus on some key markets because there's opportunity in many places. So thank you.
All right. So it's time to wrap up our program. And I think you can see on the screen now the outcome of our Slido poll about the greatest benefit for advanced manufacturing. And it looks like reduced manufacturing costs and adaptability won, but I'd give a honorable mention to analytics because it comes up in several of the answers as well as efficiency. And I think these are all great benefits of advanced manufacturing. And I'll just remind everybody that I'm going to be changing the polls. I already put up a new one that I'll leave open until about the time we start tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll have a lot more interactive polls. So I think, the very first thing I want to do is thank everybody for joining us for what was really a really interesting and informative first day of this summit. NEMA in particular is excited to kick off our partnership with ITA for our MDCP award, focusing on increasing exports of advanced manufacturing systems and equipment and increasing U.S. participation and engagement in international standardization. I know today we heard a lot from ITA, both about the NEMA MDCP program, as well as about their offerings and the advanced manufacturing landscape in each of the 4 countries that we're targeting, Turkey, Indonesia, India, and Mexico. We also heard from the U.S. Department of Commerce Acting Assistant Secretary for Manufacturing, Industry, and Analysis, Ann Driscoll. Her remarks really stressed the importance of standardization for international trade, as well as provided insight into the Biden administration trade agenda, which acknowledges that manufacturing is vital to the U.S. economy. And also noted that rapidly advancing manufacturing sectors provide ripe opportunities for collaboration for fair, healthy, and equitable trade environments. We had a great panel of industry representatives that really helped answer the question about what is advanced manufacturing, what are some of the challenges and opportunities for those engaged in the development of advanced manufacturing systems. And I think that panel agreed that no matter what, the first step is to begin with the end in mind. And that's really to ensure that whatever systems are implemented are meeting the end user needs. And they also agreed that there are significant opportunities in international standards development, specifically around interoperability, communication protocols, blockchain use, augmented reality, and more. So I think we've got quite a bit of work to do. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and I know that we're hoping that we'll have even more interaction with everybody at the summit. We expect to hear from a variety of associations beyond NEMA about what they're doing to advance these technologies, and really what they see and what they're hearing are the near, mid, and long-term challenges for the advanced manufacturing industry. We're hoping to have an open discussion that will help NEMA begin to build a roadmap for our award and set priorities for what work should be done first throughout for the award. And then finally, our NEMA's president and CEO, Deborah Phillips, will offer us a closing keynote to kind of wrap up the event. As we close on day one, I'd really like to thank all of our presenters and panelists, and more importantly, I'd like to thank each of you for joining us and engaging throughout the day. I hope that you have a great afternoon or evening, depending upon where you are in the world. And we very much look forward to continuing the conversation, engagement, and information sharing tomorrow, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to contact me or anybody from NEMA staff, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the day 2 minutes early, and have a great afternoon, everybody.